I stood on the weathered porch of my childhood home, the old wood groaning beneath my feet like a weary old man. It was late afternoon and the sun hung low in the sky, casting an orange glow over Cedar Grove. I could smell the crisp autumn air mixed with the faint scent of decaying leaves that littered the ground. These were familiar smells, wrapping around me like a dusty blanket that I couldn't shake off, no matter how hard I tried. As I looked out at the overgrown yard, memories flooded back, memories I had tried to suppress over the years. I instinctively clenched my fists, digging my nails into my palms as I thought of the people who had turned my life upside down. Why did I come back here? I whispered to myself, shivering slightly even though the air was unusually warm for October. Clara, the sound of my mother's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. She peeked out from the slightly ajar door, her once bright eyes now clouded with age and worry. Honey, dinner is almost ready, you have to eat something. I straightened up, forcing a smile on my face, one that felt more like a mask than a genuine expression. I am not hungry, Mom, I replied softly, my gaze drifting back to the chipped paint on the railing. I remembered the many summers spent on that porch, planning my escape from Cedar Grove while sitting in a hammock, feeling so small in a town that always seemed too big for me. You need to eat, she insisted, her tone tightening slightly as if she could grab onto my shoulders and shake the rebelliousness out of me. I made your favorite meatloaf. Mom, please, I could hear my voice rising slightly, a slight crack in my usually calm demeanor. It is just meatloaf, I am not a child anymore. I can take care of myself. You may think you can, but this is my house and I say you need to eat. There was a firmness in her voice that I hadn't heard in a long time, and I felt that familiar pang of guilt creeping back in. All right, I'll be in soon, I replied, taking a deep breath to steady myself. After she disappeared back inside, I couldn't help but smile a bit, remembering how my teenage self would try to argue with her over anything just to feel some sense of independence. Little did I know then that real independence would come with chains of its own. I turned back to the yard and spotted an old swing hanging from the oak tree, weathered and frayed. I walked slowly towards it, pushing aside the memories of laughter and the whispers of first love shared with my childhood friends. I could still hear their giggles echoing in my mind, the sweet innocence of youth devastatingly shattered by betrayal. Friendship can crumble faster than these rotten leaves, I said softly as I grabbed hold of the swing's ropes. As I sat down, the chains squeaked mournfully, reminding me of the promises I had made in that very spot. I was just a kid then, dreaming about the future while vowing to never let anyone hurt me again. But life did not listen to my vows. I could still remember the day it all changed, everything that had led me back to this town filled with ghosts. Clara, a voice called from the gate. I turned to see Lucas Matthews, one of the friends who had once been so close but had since played a pivotal role in my downfall. My heart began to pound against my ribcage like a trapped animal. He looked just as I remembered, with his tousled hair and goofy grin, but there was a heaviness in his gaze now. I heard you were back, Lucas, I said, trying to sound nonchalant, but my voice betrayed me, shaking slightly. What are you doing here? Just wanted to check in on you, he said, shoving his hands into his pockets, that familiar awkwardness washing over him as he took a few tentative steps toward the porch. It has been a while, how have you been? I have been, okay, I hesitated, feeling the sudden urge to close myself off from him, but curiosity kept me rooted in place. What about you, still stuck in this town? He chuckled, the sound bittersweet. Yeah, still here, some things never change. I glanced past him, watching the sun dip lower in the sky. The light was growing dimmer, shadows stretching across my yard like long fingers reaching out for something just beyond their grasp. Some things should change, though, I remarked bitterly, casting a sidelong glance his way. He was part of a life I could not escape. Hey, I know things got complicated between everyone, but I hope you know that it wasn't all my fault, he said, his voice lowering, the honesty seeping through like a crack in a dam. I never meant for any of this to happen. In any case, it did happen, I snapped, the sharpness of my words surprising even myself. His expression faltered, and for a brief moment I could see the guilt flicker across his face like a candle struggling against a gust of wind. Clara, he started, but I cut in. Don't bother, Lucas. I came back to sort through my life, not to rehash old sorrows. I stood up, letting the swing creak back in place as I stepped away from it, stepping deliberately towards the house, heart racing with mixed emotions. Wait, he stepped in front of me, blocking my path, desperation plain in his eyes. I just wanted to see you. I know I hurt you, but I am sorry. I wish I could take it back. Sorry, that is all you can say after destroying everything. My voice was sharp, slicing through the air between us. I could almost see the words hanging like heavy fog, weaving between memories of betrayal and trust broken. My hands trembled, and I longed to push past him to escape the confrontation, but I held my ground even as the urge to flee loomed larger. He hung his head, rubbing the back of his neck. I know it doesn't help now, but if I could take it back. If you could take it back, what would you do? Would you go back to that day and tell me not to trust you? His silence spoke volumes. Thought so? I spat, turning away. You have no idea what I lost. Tell me, he urged, his voice stronger now as he stepped beside me, but I resisted the urge to look at him. Tell me what I can do. I want to make things right. What can you possibly do, Lucas? It is too late for redemption. I learned that the hard way. I have not forgotten you, Clara, not for a second. Then you should have fought harder, I said bitterly. You should have fought for us. Things are different now. You are back and I want to help you. I let out a harsh laugh. Help, or is that just empty words? I found it amusing how easy it was to shift the weight of blame back to him, but that didn't stop the stab of regret from pricking at my heart. Let's talk somewhere, maybe we can figure things out together, he offered, hands raised in defeat, frustration evident in the scrunch of his brows. No, thank you. I turned my body towards the house, determined to leave him standing there despite the surge of emotions swirling in my core. I wanted to leave this part of my life behind, to shut the door and lock it tight like I had done so many years ago. Please, Clara, his voice halted me. You have so much to say, why not just say it? I inhaled sharply, each breath filled with unspoken words and buried rage. My whole life felt like a crumbling foundation beneath my feet. You know, I left to escape this town, escape everything. And yet here you are, he shot back, the slightest challenge in his tone. Maybe it is time to face what you tried to bury. I looked at him fully then, taking in the hurt that traced his features. Why are you here, Lucas? Why now? Because I care and I want to help you remember who you are, he answered simply. What happened to the person I thought I knew? I demanded, even though I could see glimpses of that person in his gaze. The boy who had shared my dreams and my fears was still somewhere inside him, battling against his own ghosts. Maybe I can still show you, he replied, his voice steady, and the weight of his words lingered in the air around us. But I shook my head, my heart pounding against my ribs, the distance between us suddenly feeling charged with the electricity of unfulfilled promises. There is nothing left to show. With that, I pushed past him, heading towards the house, every step resonating with the anger and hurt I had bottled up for years. Behind me, I could feel his gaze like a weight, pressing down on me, but I refused to turn around. A silent vow crystallized in my mind, a promise to myself that I would not let myself be swayed again. As I stepped inside and shut the door, I leaned against it, letting out a long breath that tasted like regret and resolve mixed into one. I had come back to Cedar Grove to reclaim my life, to confront my past, and to ensure that the foundations of trust never shattered me again. As I heard Lucas call my name again through the closed door, I knew I was ready to dissect my memories, even if it meant grappling with the ghosts of my past to find my footing again. My heart raced with anticipation and dread, and I knew this was only the beginning. I stood in front of my apartment window, my hands resting on the cool, smooth surface of the glass, watching the trees sway gently in the wind. Cedar Grove was still waking up, the sun peeking through the leaves, casting golden flecks of light across the ground. It was hard to believe that just a few days ago I had been in a completely different mindset, that everything I had built began to splinter before my eyes. The betrayal was like a lingering whisper in the back of my mind, insistently reminding me of how easily trust could be crushed. I forced myself to inhale deeply, tasting the crisp morning air that filled my lungs and reminded me of clarity, but it was like trying to breathe in water. I turned away from the view, pushing the thoughts of him as far away from me as I could. I picked up the cup of coffee I brewed, its rich aroma pulling me back to the present. Each sip was a warm comfort, even if the taste was marred with bitterness. I knew what I had to do, it was only a matter of when. As I stood there, organizing the chaos brewing within me, a soft knock on my door interrupted my thoughts, sending a ripple of surprise through my body. I put my cup down on the countertop. Who could that be? It was still early, and I was not expecting anyone. The knock came again, a little more insistent this time. I padded over to the door, peered through the peephole, and found my best friend Jessie, her wild curls barely tamed, her face alive with enthusiasm. I couldn't help but smile. She was the only person who could lift my spirits even when I was swathed in shadows of betrayal. Clara, open up, she sing-songed, her voice bright as the sun. I opened the door and she bounced in, filling the space with her energy. Hey, I greeted, leaning against the doorframe. Hey, is that all you have to say? She teased, throwing her arms around me. Her hug felt like both a shield and a soft landing. I don't know, what do you want me to say? Should I throw a parade? I asked with a small laugh, though the gravity of my situation pulled at the corners of my mouth. Maybe a parade for my presence, that could work, she replied with a wide grin. Or at least a dance party. I laughed again, but it didn't quite reach my heart. Jessie was the kind of person who could dance through life, effortlessly gliding over problems while I felt stuck in a thick fog. I don't think I'm really up for a party right now, I said, my voice quieter. Her expression shifted, concern pooling in her eyes. Clara, are you okay? You've been distant since the you know what happened. I sighed, turned my gaze to the coffee pot. It is hard to be okay when everything feels upside down. Come on, spill it, let's talk, you know I am here for you, right? She said, settling down on the small couch, her demeanor serious now. I sat across from her, the weight pressing heavily between us. I can't believe he would do this to me, Jessie, to us, no warning, just shattered everything. Are you talking about Tom? She asked softly, as if afraid to disrupt the delicate air between us. Who else? I whispered, my voice trembling with the remnants of betrayal. I thought he was different, I thought he cared. Yeah, well, obviously he does not know what real caring means. He sold you out, Clara, you deserve better than that, you know that, right? I nodded, but self-doubt filled my thoughts like a storm. It's just for a moment, it was beautiful, we were happy, or at least I thought we were. This will not be the end of you, you are stronger than this, you will find a way to rise from it, she affirmed, her sincerity flickering in her eyes like a flame of encouragement. I took a deep breath, feeling the fire ignite in my chest. You're right, I will, I just need to find my footing again. Exactly, so what's the plan? Are you going to confront him? She asked, leaning forward, her enthusiasm returning. I chewed my lip, the thought of confronting Tom, my once high school sweetheart turned backstabbing colleague, evoked a mix of dread and determination. I am not sure, I thought about it, but what good would it do? Walking into that office feels like walking into a lion's den. I say you go in with your head held high, she encouraged, her voice practically sparkling with optimism, and maybe with a well-prepared statement about how much he has disappointed you. I could really use a statement like that, I joked, though I was not entirely joking. Picture it, the fiery Clara striding in like she owns the place, right? And then you have your piece prepared, you take control of the situation, she exclaimed, rapidly gesturing with her hands as she painted a vivid picture. I chuckled, the image providing a little more comfort. Perhaps I should have a cape too. Yes, a dramatic cape, she laughed, and for a brief moment the heaviness in my heart lifted. As I took another sip of my now cool coffee, I felt a flicker of determination spark within me. You know, Jesse, I want to take back control of my life. This thing with Tom isn't going to define me. That's the spirit. You deserve to take the reins back. You are not a victim of his choices. I appreciated her support, but beneath that pep talk was a swelling tide, a dark hunger for revenge. No, this wouldn't define me. In fact, it could just be the catalyst I needed to transform my hurt into something powerful. So what are you going to do then? She asked, breaking through the spiraling thoughts that danced in my mind. I think I want to let him know the consequences of his actions, I said, my voice steadier now, filled with purpose. How do you mean? She replied, her eyebrows quirking in curiosity. I want him to feel the weight of his decisions. He thinks he can just waltz into my life, tearing it apart, and think there will be no consequences. Clara, are you talking about revenge? She asked, eyes wide with intrigue. I don't know, maybe, I replied, flustered. I just know I want him to realize that his choices matter. I want to show him what it feels like to lose something he thought he owned. Jesse leaned back, contemplating my words. That sounds like it could get messy. Revenge isn't a clear path, it could turn on you. I understand the risks, I've thought about it, I said, a rush of adrenaline surging through me. But he took something from me that I can never get back, so I need to make him understand that actions have reactions. Jessie sighed, rubbing her temple. Just promise me you won't do anything rash. Please, Clara, you don't have to carry this weight alone. I appreciate that, Jessie, but I have to do this for myself. I want to show him that hurting me was the biggest mistake of his life. I just want you safe, she said softly, grabbing my hand. I felt warmth in her gesture, grounding me amid the swirling chaos inside my heart. I will be careful, I won't put myself in danger, just trust me. I always do, she admitted, her voice filled with love and hesitation. We exchanged serious glances, and at that moment I felt the deep connection we had. Jesse supported me, but I also knew that part of this journey had to be mine. The seeds of revenge had been planted, and I was the gardener of that dark desire now. As we sat in silence, the weight of the morning's conversation hung heavy in the air. The light from the window gradually shifted, as if time had moved because of my internal struggle. What are you thinking? Jesse broke the stillness. I need to figure out the first step, I murmured, my mind racing with possibilities. Tom might have made a fool out of me, but there were multiple ways I could make him regret it. I had no doubt about that. Want to brainstorm? Maybe write a list, she offered, her excitement bubbling over. Sure, I said, suddenly feeling a spark of energy returning to me. Let me grab a notepad. Returning moments later, I scribbled down a few ideas, my heart racing at the notion of revenge. Each word felt empowering, making the taste of bitter coffee seem sweet. It was time for the world to see me as more than a victim. What do you have? Jesse asked eagerly, leaning closer. Okay, first, I want Tom to know how it feels to have something he cherishes ripped away, I stated, my fingers flying across the page as I wrote. Like his job, a promotion, she suggested, biting her lip as she thumbed through her hair. He took advantage of my work. Why shouldn't I return the favor? But I want it to sting deeper. I want to get under his skin, I elaborated, a wild idea forming in my mind. What if you created a project that would outshine whatever he has done? She proposed, leaning back with an impressed grin. Right, that would distract everyone from his performance, overshadowing everything, I said, the fire igniting inside me once again. I can't just let him walk away unscathed. Well, you will need a plan to execute it. How do you envision this project? What is it that will make his heart race in panic? She leaned forward, fully invested in my plans. My mind raced, envisioning ways to elevate my work while dismantling his pride in the process. I have been working on ideas for a community initiative, something that will pull the focus away from his so-called success and make people remember my name, something with heart, Jesse. You have always been passionate about community projects. What if you present it to the board in a way that makes him look bad? The blend of emotions surged through me, camaraderie and revenge entwined. Exactly, I want to propose something innovative, like a local business fair helping struggling entrepreneurs get back on their feet. It can show my dedication and highlight his unethical move. She grinned, eyes sparkling with excitement. I love it, you can gather support from local businesses. This could be your moment, Clara. It will be. I declared, my heart racing. He might think he has left me in ruins, but I will rise from this and he will regret crossing me. As we planned and brainstormed together, the sensation of empowerment unfolded within me, lifting the weight off my shoulders. I could create something so significant that it might topple him from the pedestal he believed he occupied. I was done being a victim. I was going to make him witness my rise like a fiery phoenix from the ashes of his betrayal. Let's get to work, I said, ready to embrace the challenge. It is time to give him something to really worry about. Yeah, let's do this, she cheered. As I began detailing my initiative, I felt a burning sense of focus envelop me. Revenge was not only about harming someone, it was about reclaiming who I was. In a world that seemed determined to crush me, I would emerge stronger, and Tom would rue the day he thought he could betray me without consequences. And in that moment, as I wrote the first words of my plan, I felt alive again. I was no longer paralyzed by pity or sorrow. I could see the path stretching out before me, bright and glimmering with possibilities, waiting for me to seize it. The fear of regret began transforming into the taste of sweet redemption. The sun hung low over Cedar Grove, casting a golden hue over the cozy town that I had once called home. The light flickered through the oak trees lining the suburban street, creating a dance of shadows on the ground. I stood at my kitchen window, gripping a chipped mug filled with steaming coffee, its rich aroma filling the air with a bittersweet nostalgia. My heart raced with a mix of anticipation and dread as I recalled the plans I had set in motion. My resolve flickered like the sunlight. It was almost there, but still needed fuel. Clara, my mother's voice broke through my thoughts, echoing from the living room. You need to help me with these curtains, please. Coming, I shouted back, inhaling deeply before placing the mug down, the warmth lingering on my palms. I pushed aside the veil of memories and stepped out of my solitude. As I entered the living room, I was greeted by the sight of my mom perched precariously on a ladder, her face flushed with determination. Do you see how they just sag like that? She complained, gesturing wildly toward the drapes she had hung with the enthusiasm of a child inviting friends to a birthday party. I swear I followed the instructions perfectly, but nothing works like it should. I chuckled, knowing that her perfectionism often led her astray. Maybe we should have hired a professional, huh? Yet another thing I cannot afford, she replied, rolling her eyes dramatically, forcing a fake sigh and crossing her arms. I stepped closer, sensing an opportunity. You know what? I can take a look at them later. It will be my little project after I finish that thing I have to do. There was a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. What thing? You have that look on your face like you're up to no good. A smile crept onto my lips. Oh, just a little errand, I said, keeping it vague. I could not share my entire plan yet. Some secrets were too delicate to reveal. The last thing I wanted was to taint her upbeat spirit with my need for vengeance. She stepped down from the ladder, still holding onto the top rung, her expression shifting from playful to serious. You are not planning anything reckless, are you? You know I worry. I'm 32, Mom, I can handle myself. The rising edge in my tone surprised me. I quickly softened, realizing that worry had permanently etched itself across her forehead. I know you do and I appreciate it. Just promise not to stress too much, okay? She surveyed me for a moment, her brow crease intensifying. I'll try, but I cannot help it. You are my baby, Clara. My heart swelled at her words, but the tug-of-war between love and my dark thoughts made it difficult to breathe. I'll be back in a bit, I said, heading for the front door. Be careful, sweetheart, she called after me, her voice trailing behind. As I stepped outside, the cool breeze greeted me, carrying the whispers of the world awakening from winter slumber. I walked down the stone pathway to my car, the crunch of leaves and gravel a comforting rhythm beneath my feet. But my heart was racing for a different reason entirely. Today marked an important step in my delicate plan for justice. It was time to confront my old life, my past, and the man who had turned it all upside down. I slid into my car, the smell of worn leather enveloping me like a blanket. As I gripped the wheel, I glanced at myself in the rearview mirror. A determined woman stared back, but lurking behind those eyes was a flicker of fear. Fear of failure, fear of what I might unleash in seeking my revenge. I shook my head, trying to dispel any doubts clouding my mind. No more second-guessing myself. This was my moment. You can do this, I whispered, the words firm yet gentle. The drive to Sam's office was short yet felt endless, with each passing street sign amplifying my tension. I could not ignore the memories flooding back. I still remembered how I had watched him walk away from me that fateful day I discovered the truth. It was a rain-soaked evening, and I could still hear the echoes of our last fight. Clara, you're overreacting, he had said, his voice oozing with condescension. Overreacting? I had caught him red-handed, wrapped in a tangled web of lies. My heart ached just recalling how blind I had been. I imagined how I could catch him off guard today, how I might finally have my turn at the helm of this twisted game. Arriving at the office building, I took a deep breath, steadying myself before entering a world that felt more foreign than ever. The harsh fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a sterile glow that highlighted the smattering of people milling around. My pulse quickened. This was it. I navigated through the lobby, past glass doors that displayed the insides of an overstuffed cubicle farm. I approached the receptionist, who raised an inconsiderate eyebrow at my worn jeans and oversized sweater, but I didn't let her judgment slow me down. Hi there, I need to see Samuel Hayes, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor coursing through my fingertips. Do you have an appointment? She asked, reaching for a pen like she was preparing to scratch my name off a list. Not exactly, but I'm an old friend. I forced a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. She narrowed her gaze with skepticism. And what is your name? Clara Lawson, tell him it's important. I felt like I was summoning a ghost from my past, and part of me wanted to run, but I held my ground, focusing on the steeliness in my heart. After a tense moment, she picked up the phone and spoke in a clipped tone. I watched as the tension in the room thickened like the air right before a storm. Her voice was muffled, but I could see the moment she relayed my name. Okay, Miss Lawson, she said finally, placing the phone down, you can go in. The door slid open, and there Sam sat, comfortably nestled behind his desk, tapping away at a keyboard. His disheveled hair combined with his glasses gave him an air of both brilliance and vulnerability, but this was not a reunion, it was a reckoning. Clara, he looked up, confusion dancing in his eyes before recognition settled in. What are you doing here? I stepped further into the room, letting the door click shut behind me. Hi, Sam, I replied, feigning a casualness I did not feel. Long time no see. He straightened, his demeanor shifting from shock to a careful composure. Yeah, it has been, what, 2 years? About that. I crossed my arms defiantly, allowing the weight of unexpressed emotions to rest on my shoulders. You look well. His lips curved into a half-hearted smile. I appreciate that, so how have you been? The small talk felt stilted and suffocating. I couldn't help but feel a swell of bitterness rise within me as I remembered his lies, how all that sweet talk had turned toxic. I have been better if I'm honest, I replied, my tone sharp. He frowned, sympathy flickering across his face for a brief moment. I'm sorry to hear that. If there's anything I can do, actually, yes. The sentence charged through me like an electric shock, cutting him off. There is something you can do. You can answer a few questions for me. His eyebrows shot up, a wave of surprise washing over him. Sure, I guess. What do you want to know? Let's cut to it, shall we? I leaned against the edge of his desk, narrowing the distance between us, forcing the air in the room to thicken. Why did you lie to me about everything? He blinked, momentarily thrown off guard. Clara, don't you dare deflect this. You knew what you were doing. I could feel the fire rising within me, my voice softening with anticipation. You had a whole life outside of what we built, and I simply want to understand why you thought it was okay to live a double life. He shifted uncomfortably, hands raising defensively. You have to understand, I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could fix it. Fix it? I interrupted, incredulous. You mean running off with that woman was a way to fix things? I was there for you, Sam. Do you even understand the pain you caused? Please just let me explain, he pleaded, his tone rising higher by the second, eyes darting nervously as he realized his trap was tightening. Explain? I laughed bitterly, the sound somehow both liberating and terrifying. There are no words for the depth of that betrayal. The sudden tension hung heavy in the air, weaving between the two of us like smoke. I could not help but stare into his eyes, searching for signs of the man I once loved, and found a stranger lurking there instead. Clara, I made mistakes, he finally said, his voice dropping in pitch, but I never wanted this for us. Us, you mean the us that you discarded for someone else, right? The sarcasm rolled off my tongue, sharper than any knife. You took more than my heart, Sam. You took my trust, my dreams, and left me standing in the wreckage. He seemed to fold in on himself, the weight of my words visibly pressing against his chest. I know I can't take back what I did, but I will always care about you. I met his gaze, searching for the sincerity in those words, but all I found was the faintest glimmer of regret mingled with guilt. Caring doesn't erase the scars you left behind. I was scared, Clara. I didn't know how to handle what I was feeling, so I ran. But instead of being honest with me, you chose deceit. Scared people do not hurt others out of selfishness. The moments hung in silence, the walls around us seeming to enclose tighter with each passing second. I sensed my anger feeding on the vulnerability before me. Are you still with her? I asked, the words a tight knot caught in my throat. His silence answered for him, becoming a gaping chasm between us. I thought so. I came here expecting you to show remorse or regret, maybe even reach out to apologize, but it seems you're still playing games. That was never my intention, he exclaimed, frustration flickering in his eyes. No, I scoffed, leaning in closer. You made your choice, Sam, and I will not allow you to manipulate me again. I am not manipulating you, I just want to dangle your pity in front of me. I stepped back, leveling my gaze. I could feel the heat from my anger boiling under my skin. I'm not here to rekindle anything with you. No, today is about accountability. You will face what you did. And when I walk out that door, you will know that your lies have consequences. What are you implying? I smiled coldly, letting the truth weave its way into my voice. Oh, you'll see soon enough. You will feel every ounce of that pain you caused me, and as the walls close in around you, you will understand what it is like to be trapped in an illusion. Clara, please don't. Sorry, Sam. I turned, my heart racing not from fear but exhilaration. It's time I took my power back. I stepped out of his office, feeling like a ghost shedding the shackles of my past. The tension clung to me like an undercurrent, electric and alive, but as I exited the building, my heart swelled. I had unveiled my truth, confronted my demons, and now the very air tasted sweet with the promise of retribution. Hopping into my car, the cool leather enveloped me once more, this time offering a sense of relief rather than an anchor to my past. The taste of coffee from earlier lingered on my lips as I gripped the steering wheel tightly, driving my thoughts toward what was next. Sam would be exposed. Nobody escaped with falsehoods. Little did he know the repercussions of his actions would soon spiral, cascading like dominoes, tumbling one after the other. Game on, I murmured to myself, feeling the engine roar back to life. Today I had taken a step closer to reclaiming my life, and I would ensure that he felt every moment of that reckoning. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows that stretched like fingers through the dense trees lining Cedar Grove. I stood at the edge of my backyard, heart racing, feeling the cool breeze against my skin. The air was thick with anticipation, swirling with thoughts of what was about to unfold. Today was the day I would confront Daniel, the man who had destroyed my life, shattered my dreams, and left me in ruins. My hands trembled slightly as I brushed loose strands of hair behind my ear, the weight of my plan pressing down like lead on my chest. Clara, are you ready? My best friend Sarah called from the porch. She had been my rock through all of this, helping me plot my revenge like a true accomplice in this twisted game. But beneath my anxiousness, I felt a spark of exhilaration at the thought of finally facing him head-on. Yeah, just give me a sec, I shouted back, taking one last deep breath. I had rehearsed this moment in my mind countless times, visualizing every word I would say, every emotion that would spill from my lips. This was about reclaiming my power, my story about breaking free from the chains that Daniel's betrayal had wrapped around me. I turned away from the fading sunlight and made my way towards the house. The wooden porch creaked under my feet, and I could see Sarah leaning against the railing, a mix of excitement and concern written across her face. The air between us hummed with unspoken words as I approached. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, her eyes wide, sparkling with the reflection of unease and hope. "What if he doesn't take you seriously?" I let out a small laugh that didn't quite reach my eyes, my resolve hardening as I looked at her. "He will. He needs to understand what he did to me." I paused, feeling a lump in my throat rise as I recalled the moments that had built this bitter resolve. He took everything from me, and it's time he knows I won't be a victim anymore. Sarah stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "You have your whole life ahead of you, Clara. Remember, you deserve happiness and closure." Her voice was steady, but I could hear the underlying fear in it, the nagging thought of what I might do or how it could backfire. "Just promise me you will keep your cool." "Promise," I whispered, trying to wipe away the lingering doubt hanging in the air. The last thing I wanted was to lose control, to become the monster I feared Daniel would see me as. I swallowed hard and nodded, feeling my heart quicken like a drum as I grabbed my car keys from the small table by the door. "'Kay then, let's do this," I declared with a faux confidence, more for herself than for Sarah. Yet, as I made my way to the driveway, my stomach churned with nerves. The old Chevy pickup, my father's truck, sat gleaming in the last rays of the sun, seemingly mocking the storm brewing inside me. As I slid into the driver's seat, I took a moment to breathe, focusing on grounding myself. Today was not just about confrontation, it was about rising from the ashes. The drive down to Daniel's apartment felt eternal. I gripped the steering wheel harder than necessary, knuckles whitening as I maneuvered through the familiar roads. Memories flooded back uninvited, recalling nights filled with laughter and dreams spun in the dim light of his living room. I could almost hear the echoes of my former self, but no more. I was not that girl anymore. I was stronger, wiser, and ready to demand the justice I deserved. Finally, I pulled up outside the gray building where he lived. The peeling paint and cracked pavement told stories of neglect, mirroring my own faded hope from that time. Who would have thought a place like this held so many memories, both sweet and sour? I glanced at my reflection in the rearview mirror, taking a good look at the woman staring back at me. I wanted to see strength, not fear. "You can do this, Clara," I whispered to myself, getting out of the truck and feeling the powerful rush of adrenaline surge through my veins. As I approached the entrance, each step felt heavier, but I pressed on, the need for resolution pushing me forward. I knocked on the door, the sound echoing through the stillness of the building. My heart raced as I listened intently, counting the seconds that felt like hours. A part of me wished for solitude, for silence, but no, I wanted him to answer. I wanted him to be confronted by the ghost of our past. The door swung open, and there he stood, looking as casual as the day I had met him, wearing that same lopsided grin that had once melted my heart. "Clara," he asked, surprise etched across his handsome features. It felt surreal staring into those familiar eyes that had once held so much affection for me. "What are you doing here? Can we talk?" I heard my voice come out stronger than I anticipated, while my insides twisted like a pretzel. I wasn't here to play games or dance around the issues. I was here to reclaim my story, my truth. "Sure, come in," he said, stepping aside. I walked past him into the dimly lit living room. The familiar scent of cheap cologne mixed with the faint remnants of his last meal filled my nostrils, and a wave of nostalgia almost swept me off my feet. But I steadied myself, reminding myself why I had come. The room was a mess. Clothes strewn across the floor, dirty dishes piling up in the sink, and the dim light made it feel claustrophobic. "What's going on?" he asked, his casual tone not matching the tense atmosphere. I turned to face him as he sank down onto the couch, crossing his arms. "I needed to see you," I started, my voice steady. "I wanted you to know how much you hurt me." I see the slight flicker of confusion in his eyes. "No, hurt is not the right word. You destroyed me, Daniel." He opened his mouth to protest, but I held up my hand. "You don't get to speak yet. I need to get this out." I took a step closer, my heart racing, a palpable tension filling the air. "You played me like a fool. I gave you everything, my heart, my trust, my future. And what did I get in return? Betrayal. You chose her over me. You left me broken." His expression softened slightly as he looked away, and I didn't miss the flicker of guilt that crossed his features. "Clara, I know," I interrupted again, feeling the heat rise within me. "You don't get to justify that. You think I haven't replayed that night 1,000 times? The way you stood there and told me you were in love with someone else like it was nothing. Like my heart being shattered was merely a side effect of your choices." "I made a mistake." He raised his voice slightly, a note of desperation creeping in. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I was so confused and confused," I spat, the anger erupting like a volcano. "You were always confused. You never cared about what you were doing to me. You just wanted what was best for you without even looking back to see what you were destroying." His shoulders slumped as he stared at his feet, and I could feel the battle between regret and anger eclipse the space between us. "I never wanted to hurt you, Clara, I swear." "Then how could you? How could you toss me aside like I was some old toy that lost its shine?" I pressed, tears threatening to spill from my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "I don't know," he murmured, almost so quietly that I missed it. "Things got out of hand. I didn't think it would come to this. I was thinking about myself and I—" "No, you only thought about yourself," I exclaimed, the frustration boiling inside of me as I paced the room. "You were too blinded by your own desires to see the pain you were inflicting. Do you have any idea what it felt like to wake up every morning wondering why I wasn't good enough, why I wasn't the one you wanted?" Clara, please. At that moment, I could see real sorrow washing over his face. An emotion I hadn't witnessed in a long time bubbled to the surface. I see what I did now. I know I messed up and I am so sorry. Deep down, I never wanted to hurt you. That doesn't make it okay, but I wish. Do you? I challenged, cutting him off again. Do you really wish that, or are you just sorry that you got caught? I felt my pulse quickening, determined to make him feel every ounce of pain he had inflicted. You think this pity party will fix what you did? Silence filled the room, a heavy weight that pressed down on both of us. I don't know what else to say, he finally admitted, his voice laced with defeat. Exactly, because you don't get it, Daniel. You need to understand that this doesn't just go away because you say you are sorry. Words are meaningless when they come too late. He hesitated, searching for the right words, but I didn't give him the chance. Let me tell you what this has cost me. I lost my friends, my sense of self, my entire future because of you. I thought I could trust you, depend on you, but in the end, you left me with nothing. I can't keep replaying those memories anymore. It eats at me every single day. If you think you can stroll back into my life and everything will magically be fine, then you are wrong. This is not about forgiveness. I'm not sure I can ever forgive you. This is about me finding my own freedom, breaking the chains, and claiming my closure. He looked up, the realization dawning on him. What are you saying? I'm saying I am done. I raised my voice, the fire burning so fiercely inside me that I could barely contain it. I will not let you hold power over my life anymore. I gave you love and you threw it away like it was nothing. I won't do it anymore, Daniel. I will not let you take any more from me. I need to be free of you. I never wanted to take anything from you. He nearly shouted in frustration, but I just shook my head. I know that now, but it doesn't change the fact that you did. It doesn't erase the pain you caused. And I can no longer allow myself to be dragged down by what we had, what you stole from me. I refuse to be a victim. You might see me as broken, but you're going to see me rise up. You were part of my past, but from now on, I am my own future. I'm moving away, starting fresh. He looked visibly shaken, the color draining from his face as my words hung heavy in the air. Clara, please. His voice was strained. Don't, I snapped. Don't try to beg for something that was already lost. Don't make this harder than it has to be. He took a deep breath, his expression changing. If this is how you feel, then I'm sorry for everything. I never meant to hurt you. Then I hope you learn from this. Maybe you won't make this mistake again with someone else, I replied sharply. But I have to go. This time it's really over. I turned to leave, my heart pounding loudly in my chest as I reached for the doorknob. I could feel him watching me, but I refused to turn back. A part of me felt liberated, exhilaration coursing through my veins, and yet there was an ache of melancholy deep within. I would carry the scars of our past, but no longer would I let them dictate my life. I stepped outside, inhaling the fresh air that tasted of freedom as it filled my lungs. The world was brightening anew, and as I shuffled forward, I could almost feel the chains loosening, the burden of anger and heartache dissipating. Clara, I heard him call, desperation gripping his voice. I stopped but did not turn back. I hope you find what you are looking for. I didn't respond. Instead, I walked towards my truck, a sense of closure washing over me. This was the end of a chapter, a difficult one, yes, but also one that heralded my beginning. As I slid into the driver's seat, I felt a surge of determination rising within me. I started the engine and drove away, leaving the remnants of my past behind. I was breaking free and nothing could hold me back now.